Okay, so because this is a app that I've built locally and I'm running locally on Python, it's not really hosted anywhere, decided it would be a good idea to show you how this works with a video. The site that we're scraping from is called everyshop.co.za, and I'm specifically looking for items that fall under the category TV. So this is essentially what we're going to be scraping. Now before we actually start with scraping, we need to look at how the HTML of this page looks so that we can find the tags that are of interest to us. So if you right click and do inspect, and if you hover over the different items here, you'll see that things start highlighting. So we're going to use that to find the actual item that we're interested in. So if we carry on going through the list, we'll start narrowing closer and closer to the item that's of interest. And then we can see that this has given us a list of items, and this seems to be what we are interested in scraping. So now we're focusing on a single item here, and we're not interested in the picture, we're interested in this detail because we want to scrape the brand, the product name, and the price. So yeah, and then there's the actual item. So product brand, if you scroll down, you'll actually see the brand data and eventually the price data as well. So the price is there as well, and then yeah, we'll be able to get the title as well. So essentially I've already put the code together. I've tried to put as much comments as possible to make it easy to follow, but first thing we do is we're creating a CSV file that we want to write this data to. We're specifying the URL that we're trying to connect to. We're specifying the headers that need to be used. So this will be the headers of your default browser. In my case it's Chrome. You can just do a quick Google search as to how to get the headers for your specific browser. You can use something like HTTP bin to get that. And then once we've got all those details here, we're ready to start actually looping through the various pages within the site and start getting the actual data that we want. So I'm going through the first 6 pages just for now, so specifying the web page by calling a function in the request library called get. You'll see we've imported a few libraries that we're using, and what this does is it sends a request to the web server and requests data back from the web server. Once we have the data that we want, we then start using the functions in Beautiful Soup. So we'll get the web page content. At first, if you had to try and read this, it's very messy. Everything's sort of just stuck together. It's very hard to follow. So we can use a prettify function in Beautiful Soup to get the HTML looking a lot more cleaner and structured. And at this point here, you can actually print the HTML and actually start looking through it to find the items that you want and actually copy the various tags and stuff that you're going to be using. Then once we've got the HTML, so this is the HTML for a single page, we can then create a variable called products that stores all the items in a list fashion that have a HTML tag of div and a class of product detail item. So while analyzing the HTML, I realized for each product group, each product falls under a category like so in a div. And then we can actually loop through each of that items in that list and start pulling out individual sub-elements or child elements that live within it. So as I said, I was interested in the brand, the item name, and the actual price. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm pulling these elements into variables, and then I'm making up a array or a list of each of those elements so that I have them sort of sitting in one line, and then I write that line one at a time into the CSV file, so I'm appending it into the actual file. And lastly, once we're done scraping everything that we're interested in this page, we move on to the next page and sort of repeat the process. So this will go for the next 6 pages. You can go to for the next 10 pages. It's up to you how much data you want to scrape. So you'll see that, and that's what the code looks like. You'll see by default the HTML file that you're writing to, if you don't change your directory of Python, is set to where you've got Jupyter Notebooks storing to. So in my case, I've got my notebook saved under my documents, and this Python notebooks here. And this is the actual web scraping notebook. That's the one that we're looking at on screen now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run this code, and hopefully if everything works as it should. Okay, so we did the imports. Let's run this file here. It should create a file. So you can see it's busy executing this now, so that means it has started scraping. So if I bring this back here, okay, let's wait for it to complete first. Shouldn't take too long. I'm only doing 6 pages. Okay, it's done, and if I bring this back here, we should have we've got a file now. So if we open this file at Notepad++, you can see that we've got, it scraped what we wanted to: the brand, the name, the price, and then the different brand names and price. And you can see it's quite a long list because you're going through quite a few different pages to pull this data from. So that's it. That's how the scraping solution works.